Hello everyone. Here's a short video tutorial to prepare you for the upcoming test over solving inequalities. All right. Let's start with number 13. I want you to try to work it on your own and then see if you have the same thing I have. Albert earns $3.50 for each hour he works. If he wants to earn at least $52.50, how many hours must he work? Write and solve an equality. What I would do, I always write down like you would think if you know the answer. That he wants to work at least, let's just write that down and look at it. So what does at least mean? That means he wants to make this amount or more. So that means the way I know which way to turn the inequality sign, I want it pointed to the smaller number. So this is what he makes. This has to be more, okay, than or equal to $52.50. Whatever is on this side of the inequality has to be more than or equal to $52.50. Now, what else do we know? We know he earns $3.50 an hour, right? So we want to know how many hours must he work. So what we're going to do, let me go here. We're going to divide both sides of the inequality by 3.5. And so you can use your calculator and divide 5250. Oops, there we go. 5250 divided by 3.5. Oh, so he has to make 15 hours. He has to work 15 hours. H is greater than or equal to, I know I squeeze it in here, 15. So those are the number of hours he must make in order to make at least 5250. And you can always check your work to see, okay, is that right? If he works 15 hours, is he going to make at least $52.50? Anytime you're a little confused, just check your work. Then times 3.5, and you see, whoops, I did it wrong. Let me just multiply 350 times, and you have 15. 15 hours, right? That's 5250. Okay, let's look at problem number 14. The daily production cost for a skate factory cannot be more than $5,400. So I always like to just write down the numbers as I go. Read through the problem first, but I'm just going to have and write it down now. So it cannot be more than 5,400. So how are we going to put this equality? So if it cannot be more than, so you must be less than, so we're going to point it this way. So we're going to always point to the smaller area. So this cannot be more than this, then it must be less than. So what do we know about the cost? We know it costs $15 in material. So we can call it 15x, $15 worth of materials to make each pair of skates. And the daily operating cost, that means every day, is automatically going to cost $900. Now, what is it asking? How many pair of skates can be produced under these circumstances? Write and solve the inequality. Now, as I read it, I've written it, so it's done. So why don't you solve it and see if we come up with the same thing? Okay, did you get that? X is less than or equal to 300. Anything less than 300 or equal to 300 would fit what it's asking in the equation. So let's check it. Sometimes I see if it's 300, what happens? If you multiply 15 times 300, and we get 4,500. You have to add to it the operating costs, and you get 5,400. And that's the most it could be. So the most that x can be is 300. So x is less than or equal to 300. Okay, let's try to solve number 15. Angelica wants to make at least $5,000 in weekly sales of TVs. If the TVs sell for $250 each, how many TVs does she have to sell? Now, I want you to write the inequality. I want you to solve it. Then I want you to turn me back on and see if you've done it right. Okay, give yourself a virtual high five if you got it correct. She has to sell 20 or more televisions before she can make at least $5,000. So if she sold 20 televisions, you would multiply that times 250. She would make exactly $5,000. So you can have at least. Okay? So anything more than 20, then it satisfies what she wants in her weekly sales. Okay, I've gotten the word problems out of the way. Let's try this one, all right? So I'll make my pen a little thinner so I can write with it. So how do we solve this problem? Try it on your own, see if you can get it first. So first of all, you want the C by itself. I think I told somebody that the C is antisocial. The variables are antisocial, so you want to get rid of what's by the variable. So we're going to add an opposite. That means you add an opposite of 4. That eliminates the 4. That zeroes it out. Now you have this antisocial C, but it's a negative C. He's both antisocial, it's less than, and he's negative. And then it's less than or equal to 12. Okay? So that won't do. So whenever you have a negative by the variable, always remember, always, to reverse the direction of the sign. So it's not less than anymore, it's greater than. Okay? So in actuality, what you're going to do to change the direction, you're basically multiplying by -1 because a negative times a negative is a positive. So you're doing it over here also. So C would be greater than -12. Okay, because a negative times a positive is a negative, right? So here to make this into a positive, you have to multiply by -1. So negative times a negative, now your C is positive. You switch the direction of the sign. Now you have a -1 over here. -1 times a +12 is a -12. And there you have it. Okay, I think number 9 will be the last one we're doing. So we know that C is antisocial. So do we reverse the sign? Yes. How do we get it by itself? Divide by -10. Okay, divide by -10. So that got the C by itself, and so the C, when you divide by negative, you reverse the sign already. So C is less than, this is a +4, because a negative divided by a negative is a +4. C is less than a +4. So if you have any questions, let me know.